Roadshow, episode number 486. My name is John Morgan, and Cold Coffee is with me here in Las Vegas, where, bro, I don't even know what the hell to say is going on right now. The heat continues. The heat continues. We had that insane day of 120. We actually got 7 straight days of 115 or higher. But it's actually cooled off, which is ridiculous to say. I think it's only about 104 right now, and it's raining outside.
Yeah,
like this is bizarre. Just the rain is pouring down, and it feels humid, and this is not what we're used to.
I think that's why I feel the humidity kind of creeping into a little bit. But it's so funny.
And the thunder rolls. It's rolling in the background.
It's so funny with the heat now getting hotter. My mom, we have our weekly little phone calls, and she always brings up the weather. She's like, I've been Googling your weather. Because they're just like, they see the numbers, and they're just like, doesn't make any sense. You know, like, so when they get like in the 80s and 90s, they're like, yeah, it's really hot out here. They're like, but they obviously know that we're much higher. So it's like a circus act. They just like, they're like, I wonder what it is out in Vegas today.
100%.
You know? So when it comes up, it gives us something to talk about, which is always funny. But
that's when you know you're getting old.
How's that weather? How's the weather? It's funny because our phone calls, I'm lucky enough that we talk frequently that it's not like we need to catch up on a lot of shit.
Nice.
So our phone calls usually last like 10 minutes max, if that. You know, after we've got through the weather, after we've got through how's work, how are the pets, then it's like, okay, well, I just want to check on you. I'll talk to you later.
I get it.
I love it that we have it. You know, I cherish those calls. You know, but it's just so funny.
My mom
literally
actually
don't talk about it a lot.
My mom actually writes questions down to remember to ask me, but like most of them are like MMA related these days, which is crazy because she's slowly over the years morphed into an actual fan of the sport because she just used to watch it to keep up with me, and now she's like, what did so and so say about this, and what did they, you know what I mean?
What's John Silva's real ideal weight class? Where do you see him? Do you like him better as a featherweight, or are you thinking he's a lightweight?
Now, she's not quite that hardcore yet. That would be hilarious at that point. I'm like,
what?
What is going on? But it's always great to, as you said, it's always good to have those conversations and catch up with family. So, monsoon season going on right now. Now, listen, we're a day later than normal. Normally we get together on Wednesdays, but I am proud to say
it's not your fault.
It's not my fault. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the scheduling issues lately have been me because my schedule is weird.
That would be 99.5% of them.
99.5% of the problems are me. There's no question about it. But I'm not on quite the routine that I used to be anymore, where it's just straight to fight week. But no, this time it was your fault. So I'm just going to put the blame squarely on you.
I will put that on my shoulders.
And I do want to talk about some things, but first, it's just, I guess, what was going on yesterday? Because I think when we initially talked about this, you were like, hey, we might have to go a little bit late, but you weren't really sure. I don't think exactly.
It came on so last minute. It was like, I don't even know what's going on. I'm just getting a call from the boss that says, hey, there's going to be this convention next week. Can you shoot it? I think we want to do a live stream with Junkie Radio. And it was like, okay, well, I can do those things. What is this? Okay, well, let me tell you. And it felt like they didn't even really know fully what it was, but it was called SEICon, and that is a combination of sports, entertainment, innovation convention.
And I'm looking at your press pass right here. It says, where the world's leading sports, entertainment, and innovation leaders gather. And that sounds like
the first time.
Is this the first one?
It was the first one.
First one?
They're hoping
that sounds like a very broad list of topics: sports, entertainment, and innovation.
It is crazy when you think about it. So, sports. Obviously, USA Today Sports. Obviously, there were a lot of teams there. The Aces had some people there. The Raiders had some people there. Talking about a lot of – it depends on what they were actually talking about. The UFC actually had their people there. So, at one point, the very first keynote on Wednesday, which was the big day that we were there, had Lawrence Epstein, had Pete Dropick, and Matt Cohn, the Thrill Sports one, the guy that's in charge of the UFC's like the SLS,
right?
All those little like sort of like
that's the
motorsport
new venture with
stuff.
the Fertittas.
Yeah. Like Donald Cerrone when he's like driving the race car stuff, that's for like these guys or whatever. So they were all up in there. So like,
did you get to hear the speeches?
I did. Yeah? I did. I actually was shooting a bunch of B-roll because we were supposed to. Oh, this leads into another crazy story. I was shooting B-roll because we were supposed to get interviews with Epstein and Dropick afterwards per the convention organizers.
Right.
So turns out that while the convention organizers said that they had it set, they didn't really have it set. They didn't talk to the right people. So when we saw Brian Smith and the others, there I was like, hey, because I saw Brian, I was like,
Smith.
I was like, hey, Brian, you do some interesting stuff. Maybe we'll get to interview you too after we interview, Dropic and Epstein.
For anybody that doesn't know, he does PR, but on the corporate side of things.
Yeah, on the corporate side of things. He was like, wait, you're interviewing who? I was like, Epstein and Dropic. I was like, but I'm asking about you. I'd like to get talked about you. He's like, oh, no, I'm not. And he's like, wait, but you're getting Epstein and Dropic? I'm like, bro, it's already set. It's already all set. I was like, and I was like, I got to go shoot this, but I'll be back later because this was like while they were doing the speech. Turns out they did not actually have the right thing. So when they came down to bring them into our USA Today sports room, broadcast room studio that looks very like broadcasty at that time,
right?
They were like, what are we talking about? What's going on here? I was like, just talk about the Sphere, talk about business stuff, blah, 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 just the generic whatever. And I know these guys are the matchmakers, so they're not going to talk about matchmaking stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, Epstein, he had a hard out because he had to go to the plane. He's just, I think at some point he's like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And he's like, Pete'll do this. Pete'll do it. So this is where it starts getting.
Well, Lawrence dumps it on Pete.
Yeah, so this is where it starts getting interesting. Great. So and I was filming another interview, and I was prepping for something else, and so I knew that. So I got the word that, okay, Epstein's out. We're going to get Dropic, and then there's Matt Cohn guys there. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So at the time when Epstein put it on to Dropic, the organizer came into the room and was like, "Oh, where's Lawrence? Where's Epstein?" And they're like, "Well, he backed out. He's going to whatever." And he happened to be right by B. Smith, and I guess the organizer was just like, "What? Oh man, that's terrible. He said he was going to do this," and sort of just like blah 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, now. I think either his B. Smith call or whatever, or somebody was like, well, Dropic is not doing it either because of whatever organizer said pissed him off because he wasn't happy. The organizer wasn't happy that Epstein wasn't doing it because the organizer told us. I think they went and they thought it was all set and everything.
Right.
So they probably felt like, oh, well, I just fucking lied to USA Today, because I had this all set up. So he was getting tough.
Like he was like,
without realizing,
like, bro, we've dealt with these guys a million
100%.
times. But we can reschedule this tomorrow.
Like it's not a big deal.
Like we can do this tomorrow.
So little did he know that he's having his little flare up next to the guy that's right next to the guy that is with the UFC that's there to kind of help shepherd these guys around. So then all of a sudden now we lose Dropic as well. But they're like, well, here's Matt Cohn. And we're like, the guy we didn't really want.
Like, no disrespect, but we don't really cover.
We wanted to talk about the Sphere. We wanted to talk, because even when they did their keynote, Lawrence got very animated and excited talking about the Sphere and all the other stuff. And I was like, that's cool. Let's get that on camera, So, yeah, the day started crazy with all that kind of stuff. So we didn't get half the stuff we want. But that was partially so that gives you an idea of, people in sports that are innovating, creating these new things, using all the technology. And so them up there talking about how the UFC does things and how it innovates and how the Sphere using all these different little sort of technologies and stuff. And then you'd see other companies. There was like one of these one that won the award. So say you are an athlete and you're trying to establish yourself, and there's so many, and you don't know what agent, you don't have the agent, or maybe you're not ready, but maybe you're starting to field some offers or something, and you're just like, what do I even possibly do? You can take some of the information, say if somebody gives you an idea or a contract, an idea of something, you can upload it, and it'll sort of tell you based on your locality, certain things that you need to look for, maybe things that are beneficial to you, items that maybe other, like key things to like when it comes to pay, maybe longevity, other little things that it'll pour through documents for you and kind of become like I don't want to say AI, but it's got to use some of the sort of things. So like using technology so that you're not without, in a sense, an agent, that it can make that whole scene better for you using technology. So that's just one little sort of thing.
It's funny you say, because I know that leaning on the term AI is like people are calling everything AI when it's not actually AI, but machine learning, I guess. And it is great use of being able to pour over all that information, right? It's like people joke about like YouTube University or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like, here's an opportunity for you to get knowledge that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people wouldn't have.
Yep.
Because this thing can process all these documents, can look over contracts, can look over news, can look over whatever, and give you information. So you
just spit it out in
instantly,
in seconds.
And you're armed, and you know what to ask, and you know what to negotiate. That's brilliant.
I mean, it was when I heard that, I was like, because there were like 5 or 6 winners that they brought at the very end of the day that were these innovation winners, and that was one of the ones, and I was like, holy cow, like that's pretty darn spectacular.
It's even great for people in like normal jobs.
That
don't know, you're trying to get a job. You've never worked in an industry before. You've never worked at that level of position. You don't know what to ask for. You don't know what to negotiate. You don't know, and it's scary, right? If you're am I asking for something ridiculous? Am I asking for something that's not normal? That's out of the range? Like, that's awesome.
And I think the reason people are probably leaning why it's developing in sports first is because there's money. There's money in the sports thing. But you're absolutely correct. Like, I think anything that's just unsure, most people go to the web to try to Google.
Should the teacher ask for 42,000 or 44,000? Yeah.
And then even so, how many days off should they be allowed? How many vacation days? What is the typical? Are there any like parenting rights? Does this locale give you this? So that was one little thing. And then say on the entertainment, there was some guys that came in and got interviewed that had created a movie about the sports process of sort of getting involved, almost following people that were from the underdevelopment league all the way up to where they were signing with the pro. Like, I guess they've been filming on this movie for like 11 years. So they almost saw like a whole process, a whole generation of people go through this thing. So there's the entertainment side as well, partially, but related to sports. They had like Stanford was one of the schools behind it. Stanford, I want to say maybe Princeton or somebody else, but they actually had like some gamers set up in this one room that actually competed against each other, like video gamers and stuff like that. So they had all kinds of little stuff, but it was neat.
Cool.
So they had like these breakout sessions, and then it was all about collaboration, talking with people, and then hopefully networking and have people move forward and create other things. So there were a lot of venture capitalists, a lot of people that were involved with sports that were doing that stuff. UNLV was one of the people behind this as well. Their School of Technology or Innovation or something, I forget what the name is. It was on one of the banners somewhere. This guy, I forget what his last name, Jay, he was one of the guys that helped co-found the idea of SEICon and put it together. But their whole thing with this collaboration, so say they had these classrooms that were on each side of this main conference room that just had a bunch of tables set out, and the idea, instead of them exiting out into the main throughputs of the hotel or in the convention area, they made all the rooms dumped into this big room with the idea of, hey, you just met somebody in this class, maybe you have an idea. Well, here, go in this room, here, book a table or sit on one of these tables, start working on ways that how you could possibly work together in the future, networking and all this other stuff. Yeah. So it was all based around trying to have this collaboration sort of stuff. So they're hoping to be the first of some to go, but for us, it was just kind of weird because it sprang up out of nowhere. For USA Today Sports to be one of the bigger people behind it, I think it got dumped on our boss's boss' lap. Like, hey, this is going on. Can you make something happen? And so we got roped into it, and then they had the idea of, well, hey, maybe we'll have MMA.
Don't we have people in Vegas?
Don't we have people in Vegas?
Right.
And then so the idea was to have Junkie Radio stream live from the studio on Wednesday. But then when you start putting the logistics of trying to arrange talent,
didn't make sense.
It just didn't make sense. And when we got there with the bandwidth, it would have been terrible anyways. But we ended up just doing a lot of videos to tape. But we actually got some great people. It's funny, the 2 people that they had set up for us, we end up not getting. So luckily, we end up bringing our own. We had our own lined up people that we set up. Junkie Radio set up with Chris Curtis, had Misha Tate popped on there, Mark Ratner, Stitch, Duran.
Were they all a part of this conference, or
no?
They just
those came for us.
They just said
we said, hey, USA Today's putting on this convention down here at the thing. You want to come rub elbows and see something different that's going on in town.
Yeah.
And when I approached the UFC and said, hey, the USA Today has this convention going on. Do you have some prelim fighters? There's a couple prelim fighters we'd love to chat with. If you're looking to get them some press and get them out fight week, here's this big old thing that we're going to have down here.
Yep.
And Miranda stepped up. Miranda wanted to do it, and she came down. And what makes sense for her, too, Miranda has her own, like, pickle business, and she has all this other stuff. So I think
– I didn't even know that.
She's, like, really big. She's actually just made a Bloody Miranda sauce or Bloody Miranda juice for, like
a Bloody Mary mix?
Yeah. But yeah, she does her own pickles and stuff like that. And there's some
That's
little
hilarious.
things.
That's awesome.
She's
Good
actually
for her.
she's raised bees since she was like a kid. So she like works with like local honey people. So she actually has a honey line that she's working with like different restaurants and stuff.
Good for her.
She said when she was like 12 years old, I think, or something like that, she saved some money up. And what's funny, because when I was 12, I had my allowance obviously was nothing. I didn't save anything. She's like, when I was 12, I saved up and I took my first like few thousand and I bought like, and I was like, wait, few what? How old? What was your allowance? You know? She bought like 3 beehives when she was like a kid and like learned to love like taking care of bees. She talked about how when the very first time she didn't have her suit fully on, she got stung right in the forehead. She said it looked like, she said she thought it was like Elephant Man, but one of the radio boys was like, you mean like Joanna? And she's like, yeah, like that. You know, it's like she swelled up. She's like, so I figured out I was allergic to bees, but not like deathly allergic where my throat closed. She's like, I just got a deformed head where it stung me. But it made sense for her. I think she probably looked at what the convention was and a lot of people. And I saw her talking to this Jay guy from UNLV and some other people.
Good for her.
It would have been the perfect place for her to start networking about her business and other stuff. Like, that's what this place was about.
It's so smart, man, because, listen, I know that, Joe Silva is the one that always used to hear say it, and Dana has started to say it lately, too, where we talk about fighting not being a career but being an opportunity, right?
Yep.
And I know people take that as, offensive or whatever, but this is what it's referring to. Is like, look, it might be really hard for you to just be like cold call somebody and be like, hey, I have a local bee business and a pickle business. Can I talk to you? And they're like, what? But if you're like, hey, I'm a UFC fighter. You've seen me, you know what I mean, out there flexing. And, oh, by the way, I do this pickle business and this bee business. You want to get in business with me? And it's like, bro, she's a UFC fighter. Yeah, I want to do some. You know what I mean? Like, you bring this little cachet to the business relationship, and that's beautiful to see her leverage it and to understand.
And even like interview stuff. You have a lot of fighters like, oh, it's fight week. I don't want to deal with media. Okay, yes, you can go on your social media. You could pump your pickles. You could do your whatever. How about if a media outlet says, hey, I want to interview you, use that as an opportunity to promote your business.
100%. I'll only do it if and by the way, just put that out there. If any athletes are listening, that happens all the time.
All the time.
Where companies will say, hey, I mean, I remember one, remember we talked to Francis Ngannou one time, and it was a body armor, right? And they were, it's just like, hey, we'd love to set you up with Francis Ngannou at the PI. Like, just can you mention body armor during it? And we're like,
we just signed a deal with them, with this new whatever, something like that. Would you like to speak with them? And then when you start the interview, like, oh, hey, that's great. We heard you had signed this new deal with body armor.
And it doesn't mean that the entire interview has to be about that product, but as a courtesy for that person arranging it, you mention the product. So if it's your own company, you can absolutely say, tell you what. Boy, I tell you, Tito Ortiz used to do that.
Yep.
He would say, you can't interview me unless, like, he would do things like say, if I do an interview with you, will you put a banner ad on your website for Punishment Athletics? Or, you know what I mean? Which, it's smart business. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is my company. If I'm going to give you my time, and we're going to talk about my career, and you're going to be generating revenue off these clicks, and you're going to be generating traffic off these views, then I need you to mention my business as well.
From it.
Man, that's awesome.
And
good for her.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the epitome. I'm like, I was so glad that we got her. And it's funny because like I've seen some interviews with her where sometimes she can be kind of short, but this one, her interviews were nice and long. She was talking about, she was talking about the radio guys.
She was passionate about.
That's it. The radio guys did a really good job of sort of just giving her a platform to let her talk about, her pickles and her things. And that's the great shit. Like, I think most fighters, a lot of times fight week, if they are struggling with the weight cut or whatever, don't ask technique. They don't want to talk technique. They don't want to talk about the weight cut. They want to think about something else. And if they have something else going on, hey, let's talk about it, because half the time we want to talk about something different anyways. We just don't know what to talk about.
I think the Junkie radio guys have always been so good at that. I know some that when I was working for Junkie, there were some times where I was frustrated because I'm like, what am I going to write about? I don't have a hook here. I don't have a headline, because I'm thinking from a writer's perspective of I need something that I can make a headline out of. I need news that I can write up a recap.
Yep.
But from the perspective of just making the athletes comfortable and just getting to see the human being and getting to hear a little bit about them, those guys are really good at doing that.
Well, I told them, I was like, they were like, what do you think, like 10 minutes? I was like, bro, well, it's not like you need to tell those guys to go long. But I was like, the UFC went out of their way to bring her here.
Let's go longer.
Go longer.
Yeah.
I was like, please. Like, I was like 15, 20 minutes, whatever.
Right.
I was like, that's fine. I was like, they went there. I mean, they shuttled her over. So they had a PR guy and they had a security guy.
Oh, wow.
With her as well.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because somebody there was like, it's funny that a UFC person needs a security. I was like, bro, It's not about the fight. It's about just helping them get through.
Right.
Like
just, hey, let them be. The security guy gets to be the bad guy. And say,
yes,
no,
exactly.
please go away. Yeah.
But it was funny. But I appreciate the fact that the UFC decided to do that.
Her,
so
man.
I was like, dude, give her some time to talk about her thing, and it was great. I love that I didn't know. I knew about the pickles. It'd been a while, but to hear that the fact that she's developing new products at the same time. So like she's really all in on it with the honey stuff. So it was like interesting things that you never just like a fun gem that came out of the whole crazy day that we were going over there.
We at CFFC we have an internship program with Rowan University, so I'm working with some college students that are interested in working in sports operations and sports PR.
Awesome.
And so like I'm working with training them and helping them. And one of the guys, he's been doing some interviews, and it's funny because he has made it like a standard in his interviews to ask like where somebody's where their nickname came from. Now he's not a huge like MMA guy; he's a sports guy, but he's learning MMA. But he's like, how did you give yourself your nickname? And I'm like, well, usually you don't give yourself your nickname like somebody else does or whatever. But anyway, it's funny to hear those stories in those, but I heard one that was so great this week. So we got a guy named Max Quinones who's a talented flyweight. I think he'll be in the UFC in the very near future.
Cojones is his nickname?
What's that? No.
It's Cojones, Quinones.
It's actually the Candyman. And it's
equally dirty.
Well, so it's funny. So he's a Candyman, and he always like comes in with like these flashy hairstyles. Like the barber that he goes to does like crazy stuff, and he's fun. He's really outspoken. But I don't know. I mean, again, the Candyman. I don't know. But he asked where he came from. It turns out when he was in high school, he heard an interview with like some artist or something that said they started out by selling candy in school, and he was always asking his mom for money to like go to the movies and stuff. And he was like, huh. He was like, so I got $20 from my mom. I went to Walmart. I bought candy. He was like, and I doubled up my money on that. He was like,
awesome.
Then he was like, I found somebody that had a connection at a wholesaler warehouse that I could get an employee discount as well as use coupons. So now I could like 4-to-1 my money.
Yeah.
And so like he started investing in like and he's like, it built that kind of grinding mentality in me that I still have in my MMA career. But he's like, but that's how I was the candy man because I always had candy on me at school in high school, and I'm like, that's dope. You know what I mean? I love seeing that just passion and drive and hustle and grind to make it work, you know? So that's cool.
Funny.
Well, good for you, man. That sounds like fun. Maybe next year.
It was different.
Honestly, man, I would like to come check that out next year. So
I wish I was literally stuck in our little broadcast room, like shooting interviews. I feel bad that I didn't get around to like actually see some of the stuff because when I heard later on like these innovation awards that went out, I would have loved to have seen some of the demos. There was, one of them, the innovation winners, did something because I remember they talked about they took Nate, one of our VPs who was there, who was actually doing the interviews. They took his blood and they were checking markers in the blood that could check like stress levels and other sort of stuff. So these are sort of tests they could work on athletes and all this other stuff. It was just fantastic, but I would have loved to have seen that if I had more time to get around. So I think it's only going to grow, and if you could still go to the website SEICon.org, SEICon.org, or something along those lines.
See like the participants.
You can see the participants and
nice.
the list of like the companies. It's pretty darn impressive. But as for like some of the highlight interviews, we had Michael Jordan's longtime agent. We interviewed him. Pete Rose. That was really, really cool. Jasmine Jordan, Jordan's daughter, who runs another venture capital something that's along with the Jordan name. One of the VPs over at the Aces. Boy, she had this ring. I'll have to show you a picture.
Championship ring?
Oh, my Lord.
Sick.
It is sick. And it's even got the angel. So it's just round, just diamonds. But right in the middle, you see like the Aces insignia, and it just looks
super cool.
It's so badass. And then I'm trying to think of their other major name. But it was really, really cool. It was very, very unique. But, yeah, it was definitely something that I hope it comes back because I think it'd be something that'd be very, very cool. And I think it'd be something that we'd maybe see more people get involved once they know it. I think they didn't do a great job of like promoting it here in town.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about it.
I didn't hear about it either.
At all. So,
but that's tough sometimes getting the word out. Sometimes you got to get that proof of concept, get one in the can, and then you can market a little bit more. Now you got materials and stuff. So, well, that's cool. If they have it again, I'd like to come check that out. So, it's funny. One thing you were talking about that blood work. I haven't heard about this in a while, and I think I would assume. But you remember because we used to go see the we haven't been over there in a long time, but like the Cleveland Clinic, we
Yeah.
used to go over there.
I
And
was just thinking the other day because we were talking about Epstein, and because his family was very highly involved with that.
But I remember like one of the things they were trying to do was, and I don't think this, well, it is the Cleveland Clinic, but it's not just because of combat sports, but I think they were working at the NFL and stuff, but
Yeah.
they had identified some precursors at the cellular level for CTE, so that like
right.
if you had these precursors, like they would know to test your brain activity like
Yeah.
more, or at least you could be warned, like, hey,
Warren,
by
like,
the way,
you should check into this sort of
yeah,
stuff.
this
look into
probably
this stuff.
isn't necessarily maybe the best career path for you
Yeah.
because you have these precursors. And this was like not signs of damage, like signs of your genetics have a tendency to get CTE
Wow.
more easily than somebody else.
Yeah, because you've seen tests. I had a friend, I forget what the disease or whatever, but her mother had to get her breast removed because of, I don't know if it was cancer or something along those lines. But
Where they know that you should just do
she
it
knew,
ahead.
so she did it ahead of time
Yep.
because of stuff like that.
Yep.
Um,
That stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and even now, like when you think about, like, I'm at the age where typically now they would start telling you go get colonoscopies every like whatever a couple years or something like that. But now they could test your blood to see if these markers are in your blood to tell you where your elevated levels to where you're like, hey, you should probably go. And if and they've figured out that your body, if you're not exhibiting any signs, you won't have these things present in your body. So rather than go have somebody put a glove on and finger your butthole, you could just go get blood, And it's funny because when my doctor told me that, he's like, well, we can just schedule some blood work. He's like, unless you like somebody. I was like, no, let's do the blood work. But I guess I respect that he offered me the option.
Well, Doc, I feel like we ought to be thorough.
Doc, I'm a bit of a dry spell. Let's get a little something.
That's great. All right, so
yeah, it's amazing, man, what science and the technology is out there, and it just makes sense that this day and age, especially with sports and other stuff, I think the technology and the medical, all that sort of stuff, it's going to go where the money is.
Yeah.
And when you try to think of any big major thing in our society that people are paying attention to, it's sports.
100%.
So. Sports, it's a good way of sports to help maybe change the environment for the majority of people. Like if people are investing money and putting it into it, and then if that technology and stuff can make its way to us little people off to the side, then it's good.
That's great, man. That's cool. I'll have to check it out. And by the way, I should say, with all that being said, the most important piece of content that came out of it was a birthday message to Burt Watson, right? I saw you put that together. That was very kind of you, sir.
It was awesome. I'm so glad I put that, because I didn't get to check, I don't check Facebook that often anymore, and I don't think I was even on Twitter the whole day. So if it wasn't from my Google Calendar popping up reminding me that it was Bert's birthday, I would have completely spaced on it. But luckily, I saw that early in the morning, and I knew we were getting some of the fighters, so it was just like, oh, this would be the best birthday present, rather than just call him or whatever. And I was telling Morgan before we started taping, I had sent Bert a message on Twitter, but it was around 6 o'clock at night, so I'm thinking oh, man, it's 9 o'clock. He might already be asleep. Right. So I sent him a text, and I was like, Bert, check your Twitter. That's it. Just check your Twitter. Call me back later. And I didn't really see anything, so I was like, should I just fucking call him? So I was like, all right, I'm going to call. So I gave him a call, and he answers the phone, and he's kind of sounds sort of groggy a little bit. He's like, I was like, oh, Bert, it's not too late, right? He's like, oh, no, I'm up. He's like, I saw that phone ringing. So, of course, I had to pick it up. And I was like, you sound like you're kind of almost sleeping. Or he's like, well, I'm in the bed. He's like, but I usually do this. He's like, I'm always gone to bed early or whatever. So, but he's like, but I'm in bed and I'm watching TV. And if you guys haven't heard us say this and joke again, this is like a fun trivia fact on Bert. Bert's like, can you guess what I'm watching? And I was like, I don't know, Bert. What are you watching? He's like, Gunsmoke.
A man is a Gunsmoke aficionado.
Gunsmoke, and for most of you people that have no idea what Gunsmoke is, it's an old black and white. Maybe they started making color by the end of it. I think they probably went back and probably changed it. But I want to say when it originally started, it was black and white. But it's a Western, old Western show, and Bert loves it. He's had to have seen every episode
had to have
100 times, but he still watches it.
He watches it over and over.
He's like, I'm watching Gunsmoke. So if anybody ever asks you what Bert Watson's favorite TV show is, It's Gunsmoke.
It is Gunsmoke. It was on from 1955 to 1975.
That's a lot.
That's a long
That's
time.
a lot. My dad loved Gunsmoke. I saw some of the episodes when I was a kid, but they were all reruns by that point. So.
For sure.
But yeah, but it was great. But no, he was floored. We were lucky enough to have Ratner, which I knew was a big friend of Bert's, and Stitch and Bert go way back. So having them and then having some of the fighters, and I was talking with you. And you even brought up, too, one of the first things that you noticed about the video was, like, Bert's been gone for so long, the changing of the guard.
Yeah, it did. When I watched the video, that was one of the first things that occurred to me. I was like, wow. It just realized some of these people haven't worked with them before.
Yeah.
Like they may know who the man is, or they may have heard of him, or
heard stories,
but
if they watched
didn't
videos,
actually
maybe when they were starting up, or like when they wanted to get into the sport.
It's so true, man. And Bert was such an iconic part of the scene, man. Like I mean, we've talked about it before, but there was something cool about just the way he commanded the locker room. And I know that he rubbed some people wrong sometimes.
Sure.
Like he was very rigid. He was a Marine.
He was
very militaristic in his approach. He was very rigid. Early is on time is late, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the fighters, man, absolutely loved him, and the way he commanded the back area and the locker room, and the way he made them feel, like special and taken care of and looked after. You know what I mean? Like
he's
it
the
was
ultimate
cool.
hype man. Like right and walking out, like that whole we roll and that whole speech right before he get out. Don't leave it to the judges, baby.
They'll only make you cry. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't even want to imitate his voice because I would do a disservice. You know what I mean? But man, I can take myself back to being in the locker rooms at those times, like walking in the back hallways and hearing that and yeah, man, that was special, man. So that was cool of you to do that, man.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see that he did Ariel's show this week? And
no, I didn't.
Yeah, so because you've been busy, so yeah.
What day is it? What day? Wednesday, Tuesdays?
I don't know if it was. I'm not sure. He does 2 a week, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure what day it was.
That's awesome.
But he started naming some names over.
Oh, really?
All the stories that we knew for years. Yeah, he dropped Mersh's name. And
I'll have to go back. I have to go back and watch it.
I didn't see that. I saw a clip on social media. I haven't watched the whole interview because I've been busy too. I didn't even get to make it to the media day yesterday because I was busy. But I happened to see that he dropped Mike Mersh's name, who obviously we knew and worked with as well. Yeah. And so we had obviously. Living those days, we had heard some stories, and Bert came out and told some stories. So yeah,
I wonder why. What was the premise of bringing him on?
He's got a book coming out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he's got the book coming out. And so, is it out already?
I think so.
All right,
I thought he tweeted yesterday that it was available on, did you say Amazon or something? But I think it might be out right now.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna buy it. It's at the. Yep, I'm gonna buy that.
What's it called?
I'm looking for it right now.
It's called
Being Bert Watson. Greatness Through a Legend's Eyes.
Yes.
It is on. And, it came out July 4th. I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know it was already out. I thought it was still coming out.
But yeah.
Oh, I'm ordering. I'm ordering that today. Bert Watson, you got a customer. I'm ordering from Amazon. I'm gonna get that delivered. He's the man.
Yeah, that's one I'll have to get for the bookshelf. But yeah, I'm glad you reminded me to bring that. I'm glad you brought that. Yeah, that was great. Bert's been a friend of ours. A friend of our show, a friend of Junkie, a friend of ours for a long time. But yeah, that dude means a lot. The originator of the cold coffee, baby.
The original. I mean, he came up with the name cold coffee.
He's the one.
I remember in Tokyo. This is my favorite Bert exchange. I was in the media room. We were in Tokyo, and I was like the only media there, and I was working on stuff. And I was in there by myself, and this was just like early in the week, not fight night, but like early in the week. And I'm just sitting there working. He comes in, and he's just like, he doesn't even look at me. He's just like looking around. He's scanning the room. He's walking around. He's looking under tables and like scanning the room. And finally, I'm just like, Bert, like, what's going on? He was like, just looking for a random box. And I hit him back. I was like, aren't we all? And he's just he did a little double take. He was like, he was cracking up. That was good. And another time I remember,
aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
True.
That was so funny. And another one I remember, I think it was Belo Horizonte, if I remember. It was in Brazil. I know that. And it was one of those where like my flight got in at like 2 a.m. and like my room wasn't going to be ready, right? Like it was weird because I was taking a cheap flight. And my room wasn't going to be ready, and like I was trying to save money for the company, so I didn't want to book an extra hotel room night. So PR was nice enough they were like, well, we've got like a room, like I was like, can you just leave a key at the front desk, and like I'll just go like like lay down in the PR room or whatever.
Yeah.
And they
when they used to use hotel rooms for like PR rooms.
Exactly, right. Where
Yep.
there's nothing in it,
Yeah.
it's just a room that they're going to use
Yep.
later or whatever. So they gave me like a conference room, not like a hotel room
Oh,
or
okay.
whatever.
Because
Like,
they've done both.
yeah, they have done both. No, not like a hotel room. Yeah, they have done both before. Not a hotel room, just like a conference room.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we'll do. So I got that. And I just came in like. I just crawled up on the floor and slept, and then like a couple hours later, like, because Bert's first. I mean, he's the first one of the day, so he just walks in, just sees me like he's like, what the hell? And he like leans down and sees me laying on the floor and just starts shaking his head and walks out. I mean, he was the man, dude. Mert's the man.
That's awesome.
He's a good dude. All right, well, big news that's your big news, and I appreciate you sharing behind the scenes. I also have equally big news in that. I got a new phone, the iPhone 15, I guess, and I got new internet. They were offering. All right.
So did you change providers?
I'm T-Mobile Wi-Fi now.
Oh, okay, but you're still T-Mobile.
Yeah, but I had Cox.
Yeah.
So I was paying $170 a month.
Yeah.
For Cox. T-Mobile right now. We're gonna see if this works.
Yeah.
T-Mobile wireless Wi-Fi or whatever. $50.
What is it? Have you done the test?
600 down, 60 up. I was getting a gig down and 100 up. Now I'm getting 660, but it's 50 instead of 170.
Yeah. Last time I checked, it wasn't available here. What you need to check, and this is what they always, when you see the people that gripe about it, the Coxes of the world, they say, well, in busy hours, you watch your bandwidth go away.
Right.
Because they say that they prioritize it for the phone network at that particular point. Whatever that means.
I will
so you have to check that. I would say check during the prime.
I signed up. They gave me the equipment and they said they'll give you 2 weeks free. They were like, just go do it. I was like, they're like, just keep your current internet. Like, you can see. So I actually did it for like 3 days and I did test it multiple times. And I kept getting those speeds and I was like, dude, I'm so sick of Cox Cable, dude. Like, it's the worst service. The prices are insane. They keep going up. They're not. Like, it seems like internet's getting more cheaper everywhere except here in Las Vegas where there is no competition. So I just canceled. I mean, if it ends up not working out, then I'll have to, tuck my tail between my legs and go reactivate with Cox Cable.
And you don't have CenturyLink possible out there or the WeLink or
not yet.
And supposedly next year, but hell, it's already fucking July 2025. I hear Google Fiber is supposed to be out here. But again, everything rolls out. It's not like it's here and everywhere in Vegas, once it'll slowly roll out. But yeah, I mean, Cox has held on to this area for so long, and it's just so overpriced. I feel like they're just gouging us before they have no chance anymore. But yeah, if T-Mobile Wi-Fi was here, I would probably give it a try. And at those speeds, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
If you got that, you're fine. It's better than what I'm getting right now. And
you're paying for the gig.
I'm paying for no. Remember, they were raising the price up. And I was never able to get the 100 up. I was like, hey, there's something wrong. They tried to make me get their equipment. They're like, well, you need to buy a new router or something. I was like, bro,
No.
I used to get a gig up, gig down on this. I was like, it's not my gear. So they were wanting to raise the price up $30. So I was like, how about this? How about downsize me to the lower plan to keep my bill the same? Which instead of a gig down, 100 up, it was supposed to give me 500 down and 50 up or something like that. But I was never able to get that. I was always only ever to get like 28, 30 up or whatever.
Right.
And I said, there's something wrong. They're like, no, get gear. So I was like, well, screw you guys. Downsize me. They downsized me. Whatever they did to their system that sent the new signal or whatever on their back end, now I'm getting 600 down, but I'm getting like 50 to 60 up. So I'm getting faster speed
than you're supposed
for
to.
downsizing it, which just proves that they're full of shit when they were asking me to upgrade and rent some new router because they're just controlling it. They're just throttling it.
Yep.
Whereas if it's a fiber and you have like a real synchronous connection, it's gig down, gig up, or whatever. But everybody, they just nickel and dime on that bandwidth.
That's
and
it.
Just for that reason alone, it makes you want to
I
just hate them.
I switched just because.
For the principle.
Yeah, just for the principle of it, man. I was so pissed off. All right. Okay. We got the UFC to talk about. We'll talk about that briefly. Like I said, I was supposed to be.
Is there a fight this weekend?
There is. I was supposed to be at Media Day yesterday. Neither one of us were at Media Day yesterday. I was supposed to be at Media Day yesterday, but I had some extra work assignments pop up, and so I had to put that to the side, unfortunately. So I will still be there on Saturday for the fights, and we'll talk about that. But I did want to ask you if you had a chance to see this morning. Conor McGregor and David Feldman hosted a press conference over in Spain for BKFC. and man, looked incredibly well attended. Lot of media in there.
Yeah.
We've seen the hype right now around combat sports over in Spain. We saw the influencer boxing event that sold out the stadium for Real Madrid, and now BKFC is heading over there as well. It was the first time that we've seen Conor and David Feldman host a press conference together. And I don't know. I wanted to A, ask you if you got a chance to watch it, and B, what your thoughts were, because, man, I got to be honest with you. That's a perfect spot for Conor McGregor, dude.
Yeah,
he's so good at promoting.
Oh, I mean, that's what he does best. I mean, when it's not, especially when it's not something involving. Well, it's not like him having to sell a fight against something else. You know, it's an investment.
He doesn't have to be in a beef.
Look at how he sells Proper 12 and everything like that. He does a great job. He's a great spokesman. I did not watch it. I did see some little clips of it, and I saw some our internal channels talking about it a little bit. I mean, I was just looking at him personally. I was like, man, I was like, what weight class is he even at? I saw the video the other night. I was like, my God, he looked redder than Dana when Dana gets pissed off. I was like, what? He's on all kinds of stuff at this video or whatever. But I mean, I'm happy for him. It sounds like, I mean, he does a good way. He when he gets his excited about business and making money, you see him lighten up, and I'm happy for him because you can tell like he sees it as a business opportunity. He's going to try to thrive. I think he's excited about the opportunity of fighting something different, but he's got to get through the UFC contract. It's like, what do we, you know, he's got what, 2 fights he's got to get rid of.
So he did make the statement. He said, look, I'm not just up here as an owner, you know, like I would love to be a 2-sport world champion. He's like, he does have 2 fights left with the UFC, and you can guarantee the UFC is not letting him out of those 2 fights to go compete in BKFC. That's not going to happen. So he's going to have to get through those 2 fights first. So it's far too early to talk about him.
Buy out those? Is there a buyout clause?
Everything's for sale, right? You know what I mean? I don't think there is a buyout clause in the contracts that I've ever seen or read, but I'm sure you could sit down at a negotiating table and be like, look, you know,
what's it going to take for you to just release?
Because you could say, like, here's what – I mean, and it would be easy for the UFC to be like, look, here's what we would have netted off your 2 appearances. If you want to give us the net of what we would have made, then fine, you can walk.
What do you think that amount would be?
Oh, my God. That's hard to say.
$50 million?
$50 million, yeah.
At first, I was thinking like 30, and I was like, but I don't know. But 50 would be a big number. Where he said, like, if he could say, because there's no guarantee or whatever, and injuries could happen. I mean, and if he could honestly never actually fight.
Yep.
And if he could say, well, you know, guys, what is it going to take just to make this go away and have us find a way that we can do something? Maybe I'll do some business or whatever. I feel like a number like that would make it work, and I just feel like, man, who knows? He's got so much other stuff going on. But, I mean, maybe even 2 years or whatever, the BKFC can always be there. I mean, it's such a circus act.
Well, it's a couple of things. And listen, I mean, like I've attributed this. I mean, I've talked to Mike Perry over the years. I've talked to Ben Rothwell over the years. I mean, I've talked to a lot of guys that have made the switch over to BKFC. And to a man, they all say, believe it or not, I can do this a lot longer because I don't have to train grappling anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where my knees and my back and everything were jacked up. Now all I got to do is run to stay in shape and practice my hands. I can do this longer. So Conor can definitely do it longer. And I remember when he first came part of the ownership group. Now, we still don't know the financial situation. We don't know, you know, whether he actually, you know, gave money for his shares. I'm sure they probably just, to be honest, and it would make all the sense in the world. There is no reason you wouldn't, as a business owner, just give Conor McGregor part of your company to come be a part of the leadership because of the magnetism that he has, because of the attention that he brings. You know, it would make all the sense in the world to just be like, bro, you don't have to put $1 into it.
You just got to put his face out.
Here's 10%. It's yours. You're now part of this company, right? So
we said the same thing about Francis. Like, do you need to give Francis really even money to be the PFL's face, or just give him the opportunity?
Give him the opportunity, right? So, so anyway, I remember when he first came on board, like I did a couple of interviews with like mainstream media and stuff, and they were like, "Do you think Conor McGregor will fight BKFC?" And I laid out the caveat. Of course, he's got to get through his contract. But I believe he 100% fight that. I mean, that's in his heart. He is that guy.
Like, he has the desire. The desire is there.
Yeah. Now, will the body hold up to get through these 2 MMA fights first, these UFC fights? And listen, it's not a bad situation for him to get through the 2 fights. Because, like, normally what would you do? Like, you go negotiate with the UFC, right? It's not like you're going to sit down with the UFC and be like, well, here's my other options. They're going to be like, oh, really? PFL and Bellator are going to pay you this amount of money? Is that really what's going to happen? Now he has a real viable option where he can say, like, hey, what do you got for me? Because if not, I own this company over here, and I can go throw a mega event. We've got everything in place. So it is a nice negotiating time. So he could get through 2 UFC fights and sign another UFC deal. I think he would at least try. I think he'd kick the tires on fighting a BKFC. I mean, I think he'd absolutely do it.
Well, especially, I mean, when you think about the unique factor of one being having an ownership stake where he's getting a percentage of that, but then he could also work out a purse for himself as well, which could be an obscene. If he even has it worked out to where it's a co-promotion of BKFC and Conor McGregor thing, where he's
McGregor Sports and Entertainment,
where he gets a 50-50 percentage or something off the top, and then there's the other little stuff.
Wouldn't be surprised if he does.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, the sky's the limit. I'm sure they, just like you said, who wouldn't want to go into business with him? I mean, if you're getting a little bit something over just breaking even, it's worth it in their eyes because they know that the potential of what's going forward. So if they're given 80% of the pie ultimately, but that 20% is enough to pay your bills, make the opportunity happen, and you get a little something out of it.
Makes sense.
They're like, yeah, let's do it,
It's interesting. So one of the things is, with Conor being attached to it obviously brings immediate legitimacy.
Lots of eyeballs.
I still think there's going to be people that haven't watched BKFC yet that'll see it the first time and go, oh, shit, this is too violent for me. Like, I can't watch it. You know what I mean? I still think there will be people like that. So I don't know. I mean, MMA is not mainstream. It's pretty mainstream now.
Yeah.
It's pretty much. I don't know if BKFC can reach there, but they don't have to be. But it does feel like, I don't know, maybe this is that time where like, I mean, MMA is not controversial anymore, right? MMA is not like, oh, maybe you need that little edge. But this is that edge. This is the and I thought Conor did a great job. If you go back and watch the press conference, Conor did a great job of saying, look, I don't want to see and he basically said, like, former UFC fighters, I don't want to see former UFC fighters go to PFL or Bellator. He's like, that doesn't interest me. I want to see him come here. This is a different sport. Yeah. Test yourself in a different environment. He went out of his way, and I think it's great. It's branding and positioning. This is not mixed martial arts. This is not boxing. This is something completely different, and it takes a different kind of individual, and it takes a different level of whatever. And so, I'm going to be interested to see how this pans out because, we talked about this from the very beginning. It brings a lot of potential eyeballs and potential business relationships. It's just going to be, whether the brands can stomach it. Because, again, we've seen the data. There's definitely more cuts and there's definitely more blood. There's not any more serious injuries in any other combat sport. Nope. There's not
maybe
any
more broken hands. Maybe
broken hands. Yeah, that's the limit. Yeah. But so it's not really like any more dangerous than any other thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. Seeing it up there today, like, man, they got something here.
And, certainly, he's smart, but also, too, when they're trying to reach out to UFC fighters and they're trying to reach out to people, he's reaching out to people that have already got a name. It's one thing if just promoting, say you're just out of the box, I own BKFC, I need to promote BKFC fighters. It's going to be certainly a hell of a lot easier to promote somebody that's already been promoted on a worldwide scale as opposed to a brand new fighter that just has great knuckles and great boxing or whatever. So he's smart that he's, in a way, he's preaching to the guys that he used to be part of, like, guys, yeah, you could go there, but come here. You're going to make money, you can do whatever. But he also doesn't want to say, hey, I want to use your name that you've already established to grow this sport.
True,
but
right?
It is true.
It is true.
But it makes sense. We said before, anytime you take one of the opportunities out of the playing field, it's worse for our combat athletes that we love watching.
Right.
The more places that there are for them to go, whether it was Bellator, whether it was PFL, whether it was World Series, anything, that's an opportunity. There's something for them that they can actually make a living for themselves. So that if this is actually viable and they're open to the idea of taking some of these fighters and where they say, hey, maybe don't go off and and retire and just go away. Here's another avenue, and if they're open to it, I think it'd be great.
Look no further than this weekend. Obviously Mike Perry, Jake Paul, but look at Uriah Hall. I don't know that Uriah Hall.
Oh yeah, I was right. I think first in my head went Faber. I was like, Faber will never be KFC.
No.
He thinks he's way too pretty.
He's way too pretty for BKFC.
And he's doing well with his combat jiu-jitsu.
Here he is. But like Uriah Hall. I look at Uriah Hall. Supposed to be Darren Till. Unfortunately, Darren Till couldn't make it in, but he's fighting Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on this card. And I was kind of thinking about that too. Like it's just that, right? Do I think Uriah Hall has like visions of grandeur that like he's going to be a world champion? Like, I always cringe a little bit when I hear Jake Paul, say that he's going to be a world champion, that he can beat Canelo, and I'm not saying that in his
give
heart,
him enough time, maybe he can.
Maybe, but in his heart, I know he believes it. Yeah, when Canelo's like 60,
when he's 60, and he's,
at first I didn't pick
I
up.
don't know how old. I don't know how old
really
Jake is right
good?
now. I mean, maybe when he's 40 and Canelo's 60.
Yeah, but I have no and listen, I've always said too. Don't criticize a combat sports athlete for being a little bit delusional. Like, you have to be a little bit delusional to do what they do. But yeah, like Uriah Hall getting a paycheck, you know what I mean? Good for him, and going and competing and continue to do what they love and continue to do what they've trained their entire life to do. But to get a paycheck, even if they're like, I don't really necessarily want to be at the UFC level anymore, but I can still go compete and have some fun and make some money. Like, that's good. That's a good thing to me.
Canelo, so there's only a 7-year difference, so he's never going to catch up to him. There's not a big difference between the two. Canelo, Canelo's going to have that. But I mean, you never know. Maybe Canelo.
7-year difference. That's not enough.
That's not the Mike Tyson difference.
Oh man, the Mike Tyson fight.
But I mean, going off to Jake, I mean, I give him a lot of credit. He's doing some great things, and I think he has got a great chance against Mike Perry as well, man. I mean, it's going to be a tough fight.
We're all cheering for Mike Perry, right?
Oh, I'm definitely cheering for him. Definitely cheering for him. But I mean, am I going to be shocked if Jake Paul does what he's been doing to these guys? Not at all.
Jake Paul and his team have done a phenomenal job of picking the athletes that they're competing against.
And he's doing a hell of a job preparing himself.
Yep.
Like, when have we seen him go into any of these recent fights looking like a soup can or looking like a kid that didn't do the work?
He's a legitimate boxer.
Yeah, kid's working his ass off. I mean, and we've said it before. If anybody's just hating on the fact of like what he's, yes, we can get mad because it's like, yeah, he's cherry picking his opponents, but dude, that's boxing 101. Like that's what they all do. That's what they do. You know, you get established and you work through these guys that are willing to take a fight that you could build your name off, and that's what this kid's been doing. But man, he's doing the work, man. The kid's even when you look at how he looks now in the ring from when we first saw him, it's a completely different fighter.
Yeah.
It's a completely different fighter. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be good. I mean, but Mike Perry, man, he's no joke. I mean, he's tough as nails. He has heart for days. And, man, he talks equally. His shit talking is fantastic. So,
he's the best.
Like, hearing these two, jaw back and forth and hear Perry saying he wants to, what did he say, dig up. What
dig
is he
through
going?
his eyeball and find his memories or something.
I was like, dude, that's fucking gnarly.
It's funny. So, doing interviews for Grind City Media, I got to talk to Mike Perry. Obviously, Mike's always great. It's not like working with Junkie where you're going to take out like multiple social clips or whatever. But the one clip that I pulled, and I love it, and it's so true, and I saw a lot of people resonate with, like, Mike is a great trash talker, but he also keeps it real, right? Like, he talks about, he told me about, like, how frustrated he was that him and Jake were on, like, an IG Live or whatever, and they were going back and forth with each other, and then part of Jake's team got involved in the conversation. He's like, you stay out of it. Like, you don't talk trash. Like, you're not the one going in there and taking punches, so you don't get the right to talk shit. So you keep quiet and let us talk. And I thought that was brilliant. So
That's awesome.
I cut that out for social and thought it did a good job. Well, I didn't cut it. Actually, the great folks over at Grind City Media cut it out. I just identified the clip and they did the rest of it for him. So that's nice. So I will definitely be tuned in. I do think Jake Paul likely wins that fight, but I do believe, and I actually, and I said this last week as well, but I praise, I do praise Jake Paul for taking this fight because while I do believe, obviously he's much bigger, much more experienced in actual boxing versus bare knuckle boxing, and should win the fight, it is a dangerous fight, and it's a dangerous fight with a Mike Tyson payday potentially on the line. So I actually do praise him for taking the fight. I mean, it would not hurt my feelings if the Mike Tyson fight didn't happen.
Yeah.
If the Mike Tyson fight does happen, I will be watching. There's no question about it.
Can we just hope that people forget about it? Yeah, just forget about it? Put another fight in front of his face and then what? Tyson and him, they were supposed to fight? What?
You guys, Junkie sending resources to that fight? You guys got anybody down there?
No.
No? Okay. I'm surprised. That's actually a big one.
Nope.
All right. UFC, you and I will be there this weekend. We didn't do media days. So we don't have any behind-the-scenes things that we saw this week. Don't think it's a big card, but I want to get your picks on it real quick because starting with the main event, I'm a little bit torn with this one, man. I'm actually, I'm liking seeing Amanda Lemos as an underdog there. She's definitely bigger. She definitely has better striking.
Yep.
She's definitely way more physical.
Yep.
But Virna Jandiroba just like is this tricky little grappler that refuses to go away, that refuses to quit.
Yep. Lots of heart.
And just like finds ways to win fights that you don't think she should. And so, and I'm a little, to be honest, I'm a little surprised to see Jandiroba as the favorite. And I mean, it's very close. It's not very far off at all. But I'm struggling because I'm thinking of the size and the physicality of Lemos, and I'm like, I feel like she should be able to bully Virna around a little bit, but Virna has a way of not getting bullied and just surviving that and lasting until she finds something.
Yeah, I went with Lemos, but I mean, I can see. I mean, Virna. I mean, she just like you said, she wins the fights that you don't think that she's going to win. Maybe they think that Lemos is going to tire her out or something, and and that Virna would just kind of wear her out somehow towards the end, or. But I mean, Lemos is she's explosive. She pushes the fight. I just think that if she comes bringing like what we think, it should be too much.
That's what I think too. That's what I think too. I think Lemos is the pick here, even though she's the dog. Like, I think when you think of her and you think of the recent losses, that standing arm triangle to Jessica Andrade was a little bit embarrassing, right? And so I think you think of that one and you're like, oh my God, if Andrade did that to her, what is Jandiroba going to do her? And I get that. That was one of those kind of weird moments. And you look at the run that Jandiroba's on right now. Angela Hill, tricky, durable as well, has a decision over there. Marina Rodriguez, which would be, I guess, stylistically comparable maybe to Lemos a little bit. Obviously more of a pure Muay Thai striker, but Marina is way smaller. You know what I mean? Like, they are two different body types entirely. And then Lupi Godinez, who's, of course, a different style fighter as well. So, I don't know. I'm thinking underdog here. I think I'm with you on that, Amanda Lemos.
Yeah, I mean, I think depending on what the underdog line is, I think that's a good underdog pick.
Yeah, I like that underdog pick.
Yeah.
Tough one here, right? How did you even pick in the co-main event? Because on the one hand, you got Brad Tavares, the longtime Las Vegas resident. I mean, the nicest dude in the world.
I don't want them to look at my pick.
And then on the other side,
I went Iron Turtle.
On the other side, it's your boy. I mean, that's you know what I mean. You guys are talking Korean rom-coms. You're talking anime. You're sharing playlists with each other. I don't know if I'm supposed to share that with everybody. That you guys actually share a Netflix password, so that you guys, because you find that the likes
when my algorithm popped up, I'm like, oh, that was Turtle. Turtle's been on my Netflix again. That would explain it. That explains it. He somehow works my feed.
You have to be. There's no question in my mind that you are his favorite American journalist. I'm sure, like, in somebody that speaks Korean, they've got it. But as far as non-Korean speaking American journalists, there's no question that he perks up like Andre Arlovsky. You know what I mean? Like,
he does get excited.
Like when Andre comes in,
I equally get the same. But yeah, I guess I will take that. He's my Andre. He's my Andre. Even though we can't speak the same language, there's just something about his personality. He has this infectious little smile, man, that I wish I could understand, because I guarantee he's funny as all get out. But this was a tough one because Tavares, man, I mean, how can you not like Brad Tavares? I mean, he's got a lot of heart. He's tough as nails, and he comes from Extreme Couture, which was a very close gym to all of us.
Yep.
I hate picking against that gym. But I mean, any of them, if they ever listen to this podcast, I'm just homering because it's Park. I feel like everybody and their brother is going to pick Tavares because they don't know who the Korean kid is or whatever. But I mean, like, I love Park. I like both guys in this. Purely fight wise, I do think Park has some really great power, and I think he's very, very tough. Tavares has power as well, but man, there's some times after he gets caught that I think that I've seen Park he just has a way. Once he hurts you, man, he just swarms on you. I don't want to see Tavares get hurt on this one. I mean, it would be great if this is just a nice, fun brawl that goes to a decision and one of them gets to the decision. But I lean Park on this. And it's, while I am homering, I do think he has a great skill set to get it done as well. I mean, he is tough. 17-6, not the worst of records, not the best of records, but it's good. It's good. But when you look at that, I mean, I do like both players in it, but when you look, I think when a lot of people look at this card and they say, how talented is this card? Is this the best co-main event in the world? No. But I mean, it's a good co-main event. It's a good fight. It's a good fight. You know,
Brad Tavares, Ultimate Fighter, 2010.
Holy cow!
15 years ago.
That's crazy.
14 years ago, I guess I should say. I'm trying to move us a year, but yeah, 14 years ago. I remember because I moved to Vegas in 2008. He came out here in 2010. I remember he was working for Hawaiian Airlines at the time.
Wow.
And he used that to travel back and forth. That's how he got back and forth. And
he's 36.
Yeah, and now he lives. I see him and his family like at that little regional park by my house.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where his house is, but he obviously lives around there.
That park is dope.
I run into him at that park all the time. Well, not
Yeah.
all the time, but I have run into him several times where he's.
Oh, yeah, you're over at that park all the time, though, right?
You know me, bro. I'm out there chilling at the park.
hitting the.
How about the 4
pavement.
times I've been at the park, he was there like 3 of them. How about that? I've lived in my house for 12 years.
That park is dope, though.
It is a really nice park. They're about to expand it, too.
Are they really?
They're adding to it.
Makes sense because all that space.
Cactus is now open all the way across now behind it.
Oh,
so
wow.
Just for everybody that wants to know about Las Vegas surface streets. And Cactus now goes east-west. Steve Garcia, Sungwoo Choi. Man, this is a tough one too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Garcia is that dude just won't go away, and Sungwoo Choi can be dangerous as well. What was your pick on this one?
You know, now I look at it and I look at the records. I didn't realize that Tapology has Garcia ranked much higher or lower, I suppose, backwards against Choi. But I think I went Garcia on this one.
Yeah.
But Choi, man, he's big.
He's big.
He's really, really tall. He's big for that weight class.
Garcia just refuses to go
That's
away.
it. He's just tough, man. And he just has a way of pulling things out. So I went Garcia, but, man, if you're taking my picks, that I'm iffy on that one, but I did go Garcia.
You look up and down this card. You know, you were talking about Miranda Maverick earlier, and deal. It's crazy to see. I'm scanning up and down. Miranda Maverick is the biggest favorite on the card at -230. At least these are the odds that are listed on UFC.com. I'm not looking anywhere else. I mean, a lot of competitive.
What's the odds on the
matchups.
Karolina Pudilova?
Almost a pick 'em.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I can't even say. Lucy Pudilova. They changed her name when she was first she was Lucy Pudilova. Now she's like Lucy Pudilova.
Something.
She's competitive, man.
Oh yeah,
she's very, very competitive. She's fun to watch fight. I don't think her record truly indicates how. I mean, she's tough as hell and she's fun. But Luana Carolina obviously is incredibly athletic. That's a tough one too. I might take Pudilova in that one.
Yeah,
I thought she beat Jocelyn Edwards. I did not think that. I thought that split decision was wrong.
Pudilova reminds me of this actress that's like this. She plays like these nerdy characters. That's kind of cute. And I think that's every time But Felicia Day, there's an actress that I should show you this picture. So there's Pudilova,
right?
And then here's Felicia
All right, now
Day.
we're pulling up Felicia Day. Okay,
Does
okay,
she kinda
I
look
can
like
see
her?
it. I don't know who that is, but I can see it.
She plays like a bunch of like cheesy sci-fi stuff that I love, and so that's why I think when I first time I saw Pudilova, I was like, "Oh, I'm rooting for this girl," and then she turned out to be not the greatest, and I was like, "Well, I still think
she's
reminds me of
durable
that
as
actress."
hell.
She's
fun.
She is durable.
She's fun. Brian Kelleher, Cody Gibson, a couple old school dudes on there. Cody
That should be
Gibson's
fun.
very old school. I've always been for him. Bill Algeo, who came through CFFC against Duho Choi. That could be a fun
That
fight
should
as
be a
well.
good one.
Cody Durden and Bruno Silva, two guys that have kind of teetered on the outside of the flyweight rankings and back and forth and had some setbacks. So, listen, we get it. I mean, honestly.
Kamaru's brother. I was a little surprised that that's the first fight.
I was a little bit surprised, too.
I was surprised. I mean, I don't know. When do they ever start with heavyweights? They never start with heavyweights. I just thought it was really odd because, I mean, like, Usman, I think, there was a point where obviously, if he wasn't losing any, they were pushing him. I think they were trying to push him. But pushing a heavyweight to start the night, that just surprised me. I don't know. I don't know the thinking about it. Maybe they just wanted to start the night off, or there's some reason. Maybe he's got a dinner date later in the evening. He's like, bro, can I fight first or something? Yeah, I mean, usually they try to put bigger guys for the main card or later on. I just didn't understand why they're starting so early on in the night, and that's the only heavyweight fight of the night.
It is starting out.
It's just interesting.
I'm about to play this. Let's see. Hold on, let's see.
Lucie Pudilova.
That's not even
first,
her.
That's not her. That totally defeats the purpose. Actually, I had no idea her voice had gotten so deep.
Wow.
Things have changed.
That's Luke Pudilova. Luke is now in the
How can you have
men's
somebody-
featherweight, flyweight division.
Does that not defeat the entire purpose of having them say their
weird.
own name?
Yeah, they're like, can we have the translator say it? Yeah, that's funny. We should tell them, like, can you go back and have them record that?
That is funny. Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Luke Pujilova.
You got the wrong guy.
But did he say Pujilova? He said, like, Puja.
See here, I think he said it different both times.
Lucie Pudilová. Lucie Pudilová.
No,
See,
I did.
the DIL is like J. It sounds like he's like Pujilova.
Pujilova. Anyway, now what's playing?
Oh, yeah. Man.
What is that? Is that you?
That's you.
I don't, that's you.
That's you.
All right, well, we've gone completely off the rails. What else is out there?
That was on Luke's playlist there. I want to make sure we send well, speaking of Luke P. Preja, even though I wasn't,
maybe
is this Pooch? Is this Luke Pujilova?
It's Luke Pujilova.
I and it's funny because I was a joke and I wasn't going to say his full name because Luke, we want to thank you for renewing again for the year for the on the Patreon. We appreciate that.
Patreon.com/MMA Roadshow. We just didn't want to butcher your last name.
Yeah, but funny enough, he's like, I just subscribed for a year, but don't tell my girlfriend. She's going to absolutely kill me for spending from her household fund. And I said,
Let's
that's
go.
fine. That's fine. As long as she doesn't listen to this when we thank you. But we were going to try to change the name. We were going to say Luke P, or we were going to just say something. But now we just kind of put you out
It's
there.
Luke Pujilova.
It's Luke Pujilova. Thank you, Luke Pujilova.
We appreciate it. Appreciate everybody that supports us over at patreon.com/the MMA Roadshow. We certainly do appreciate that. It's man, we've been doing this almost 10 years, man. It's crazy.
When I was looking the other day, because I was trying to go back, and I forget I was on Spotify or something. I was trying to just go back through some of the episodes, and I looked it up, and then on the calendar, and I was just looking at all these things, and I was scrolling, just pages and pages of scrolling, and I did the math, and we're almost at the 10-year mark.
Yeah, 9+ years.
In April will be 10 years.
Crazy, bro. Crazy.
Crazy.
My kid would have been 2 at the time.
Yeah. Man, it's been quite a ride. And
Jobs have changed, lives have changed.
Jobs have changed, lives have changed. But man, one thing is the same, man. We've had a great group of people listening to this whole time, and that's why Patreon's so wonderful that everybody has been supporting us. Because I mean, I know we keep wanting to push more and more and more, and with busy lives and everything. I know you've been touring and stuff, and it's like it's always on the plans to keep doing more, and the support that everybody shows us. It's like keeping that. Like, I subscribe to a channel on my Roku that I don't think I ever watch, and so it's like you're giving to us. And just forgetting that you're giving to us, and we appreciate that.
We appreciate it.
It
helps
does
cover the cost that we have for this,
I mean, especially
we love doing it.
Yeah, things start to, definitely start to add up, because the cost of everything, the cost of hosting, the cost of like everything definitely goes up, and it's not like we ever really bitch or talk about that.
Cox Cable's
It's just the
fault.
cost. Yeah, if it wasn't for Cox, everything would be free. But no, it's appreciative. So anytime you guys reach out to us, I saw somebody else jumped on. There's a Discord. If you guys didn't know this, for the top tier, there is a Discord channel, which most people are like, "What is Discord?" Discord is like a online chat thing that a lot of gamers use, and actually, it's built into Patreon. That for the top tier, it has access to this Patreon. So if you sign up for that, it actually my phone, it tells my phone. So somebody signed up the other day, and it said so and so has joined the channel. There's like 3 of us now on there, but I haven't really said anything. But like that's the access.
We never really talked about it.
But that's like the access. Yeah, we haven't really talked about it, but that's the access. And then that's what the great thing about Patreon. You come on there and you chat with us. We're gonna chat back with you. And, and the Discord was just another one. Not that I'm asking everybody to get on Discord and ping my phone at all hours, because Morgan said he wasn't gonna put it on his phone, but I do have it on my phone. But it means a lot. But I mean, that's what it's there for. You guys want to put your questions on there, we'll get to them. We'll respond to them. That's what it's there for.
For sure.
And we'll
you
definitely
got direct.
We'll definitely
access
plan
to
on. Yeah, you got direct access, and we will give more. We will do more. It's in the plans, like it always is.
It always has. There's been some times of transitions.
In 9 more years, I promise it'll.
By the
be
time
there.
we hit the 20-year anniversary, this place is gonna be bumping, bro. Don't you? We'll have it figured out by then. We might be doing video by then. No. It'll be like by that time it'll be like holograms of us, like in your house.
I'll plug you into the chip that's in the base of my brain at that point.
Oh, that's great. All right, well, listen, we appreciate everybody spending some time with us. Like I said, not a big UFC weekend. But
when's your family get back?
Monday. Oh, yeah, I've been by myself.
I know.
It is.
Oh, I meant to say, like, I haven't seen any crazy tweets. I feel like when we addressed it the last time, we said, watch the Twitter.
I had a couple of days early on when they left, and then I was like, this is not sustainable. Like, I'm not going to lie. I went on a couple-day bender, and it's
Did you make it upstairs to your bed, or were you just a couch? Just
couch? I've slept on the couch all week. I haven't even. Yeah. No, I stayed downstairs. Like, there's no reason to go upstairs.
That's awesome.
I go upstairs in the morning to get ready, and then I come back downstars, and I don't have to take the dogs up and down and all that. We just stay down there. But no, it's weird. It's weird. It's a weird thing, right? Like, I'm an only child, and it was just me and my It was just me and my mom, and so like we had I don't know. Our house was kind of quiet. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have a big family, so like I do appreciate like a little bit of like without having my wife and kid, like a little bit of quietness, a little bit of peace. Like I actually do appreciate it a little bit. Like it's like I could just kind of decompress, and I have found it's weird. Like my stress level, I always want to take care of them. Like I always want to make sure that like. I don't know, like I just think about them all the time that like everything's good and so like not having to worry about like what's their schedule, do we have dinner planned, do we have this, do we have that, all that stuff, like what's the where does everybody need to go, let's make sure there's something entertaining tonight, you know what I mean, like taking that stress away, I will say is nice, and so when they come back I got to figure a way to change my mindset to where I can still not feel that stress, so it's nice. But like after like a day or two I'm just like, but that's who I talk to, like that's who I interact with, you know what I mean, I'm just like it's weird. It's bizarre. So they're having a good time in Mexico. My wife sent me a clip of my kid ordering from a server in Spanish. And, you know what I mean? Like he's getting real practice. And they went to go visit her family in San Luis Potosí, where they live now. But then they actually went to the town where my wife grew up in Tampico, which is on the beach. So they went to her childhood home, and like Eli got to see like where she grew up, and
that's
like
awesome.
and they're hanging out on the beach, and so he got to see all that.
That's
so,
cool.
It's cool. So he's having a good time. I think he was a little worried about going to Mexico because like the language barrier and everything. Even though he knows a little bit of Spanish, still you're 12, you're a kid. It's scary, you know what I mean? But it sounds like they're having a good time. So, but they're back on Monday, and my life gets back to normal. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you still got time for one more bender.
Okay. Yeah,
I had to really twist your arm on that one.
I had a couple of days where I'm like, why is it 4:00 in the morning right now? Like, I probably need to go to bed right now. And I realized I was like, I can't do this for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't good.
But at least you stayed off the Twitter.
Yes,
that was good. There's been no random tweets.
No, I haven't. I've been good. The last couple since like the last week or so. Like I've been going to bed on time. And, just being responsible.
There you go. Mr. Morgan, Mr. Responsible.
Mr. Responsible. That's good. So, all right, listen, enough about that. Appreciate everybody sharing some time with us, as always. We will have an and a half this weekend. We'll be inside the Apex on Saturday, so we'll talk about everything that happened and all that good stuff. But anyway, enjoy your time. Maybe you're watching more boxing than MMA this weekend. That's okay. I get it. We're cheering for Mike Perry. I'm not going to lie. We're cheering for Mike Perry. So if you want to watch that, I totally understand. We'll catch up on the UFC. In the meantime, thanks for listening. We'll be right back.